Welcome back to another episode of Bite-Sized Moments with AJ. Today we're talking SEO again, specifically SEO and DuckDuckGo. So most of the time when we talk about SEO, we are talking about Google. And that is because in the United States, 87% of searches in the past year were done on Google. And so it makes sense that that is where we would focus our efforts. The next closest contender in the search results is Bing with 6%. So it makes sense that we don't often talk about the other ones. But one that has been growing in popularity lately has been DuckDuckGo. It is now sitting at 2.5% of searches done there, and it has grown a lot over the past year. A big reason for that is privacy. So people have realized with all of the Senate trials and everything else that Google and like Meta or Facebook have a lot of information on you, and the general public is starting to understand how that works. Google functions very much using your unique fingerprint on the internet as a way to influence its algorithms to try to deliver you quality results for the things you want. DuckDuckGo, on the other hand, doesn't do that. They don't even track you by IP address. They don't use your location, nothing like that. Instead, they use external factors in order to support their search results. So, for instance, you might still get results that are filtered by intent. So if you search toaster ovens, you may still get a shopping page as opposed to a regular page. However, that is going to be something specifically inferred from what the keyword is as opposed to what your history is. It doesn't tie together your one search to another. It doesn't use your browsing history to influence its searches, your logins, any of that stuff that Google uses. So what does that mean? Is it worth doing SEO for DuckDuckGo? And the answer is yes. At least worth keeping an eye on it. The nice thing is when you are doing SEO well for Google, a lot of the stuff is going to trickle down and impact DuckDuckGo or any of the others as well. But what does that look like? How do you need to make sure that you are capturing those things for that audience that has privacy as a concern and isn't coming through Google? So DuckDuckGo's goal is still to provide quality search results. That is every search engine's goal. They don't make money unless you're using their search engine. So while DuckDuckGo isn't tracking you and serving you remarketing ads and things like that, they are still offering search ads that are more based on keywords and not your individual persona. So people can go in and bid on keywords, and they show up as ads with your search results, and that is a way for them to generate revenue. So they want to keep you using their search results. They want to work well. They don't want people to be like, oh, you can't trust those search results. They're just not as good. They want a quality experience. With that in mind, what are they using in their algorithm that you need to be concerned about? Number one is a good user experience, which you should want to do anyway. That's going to get you conversions. And what does that look like? That's fast loading speeds, easy to use on mobile, easy to navigate, things laid out well. You know, you don't want to have it cluttered, and they really don't like pop-ups that will frustrate users. Now, I will one day do a whole rant on pop-ups. I have feelings about pop-ups, and unfortunately, they're effective. But some companies go too far. I mean, we've all been there and had the page where we click on it, and there's 18 pop-ups before you get to any significant content, and that's frustrating. It makes users bounce. So they want to make sure that you're not abusing that power. They want to make sure that your navigation's intuitive. People can easily get around your website. That your content is easy to scan and understand. So a lot of times on websites, you actually want to keep very simple language. They want you to also be using your headings and bullet points and things that make it even faster. Nobody has patience, and so users are more likely to interact with content that they can get through quickly and get to the point. And then DuckDuckGo also wants you to be clear on the location of your business if it's location important. So one thing that they're not going to do is look at the user's IP address. Instead, they're going to look at the location the user chooses to include in their search. So on Google, you can put in pizza places near me. And Google knows what your location is and looks in the radius, and they know what the business location is because the business is in Google My Business, which is then on Maps. And that makes a very seamless thing. The big difference here is DuckDuckGo, if you put in pizza places near me, it doesn't know where you are. It's not tracking your location. It's not tracking your IP address. Not only that, it doesn't know where the business is because you're not on the maps the same way. So you want to make sure that you're including your location information in that, in your copy, in your footer, in your schema clearly. And then also for DuckDuckGo, quality backlinks are going to be just as, if not more important than they are for Google. And then lastly is something that a lot of people stopped doing for Google search results, and that is directories. So directories used to be a huge thing, and they are not so much anymore because they kind of became outdated, but DuckDuckGo still uses that as a ranking factor for moving forward. And yeah, it's all, like I said, it's all very simple things. It's all stuff that you should be doing anyway. You just need to be more aware of what your customers are going to be searching for. There's not as much knowing what a phrase means based on how a person used it in the past. Instead, it's stripped down really to its basics. And, they're not bad search results. They are, more trustworthy in some people's minds because they're not being tracked. Now, some people do ask, isn't that the same as going on an incognito window and doing a search result from there? No, Google still knows who you are. There's still data being passed. Google's just not using it quite the same way. So yeah, is it worth doing SEO for DuckDuckGo? I think absolutely. I think that anything that shores up those basics can help you overall. And, as we are moving towards things being decentralized and, more people moving away from these companies that have a lot of control over their information, it is important to get ahead of that curve. Some interesting facts that I came across while looking into DuckDuckGo for our company was that actually people who are using DuckDuckGo as their search engine who come to websites, that the traffic from there doesn't bounce as often, that they seem to be more qualified, higher quality traffic overall. However, it is a very small sample size. So as if DuckDuckGo continues to grow, we'll see whether or not that proves out over time. But it is something to be really dialed into. Keep an eye on it in your own data and analytics. When you go into organic search reports to see where traffic's coming from, see, are people from DuckDuckGo converting more than Google? Because you might want to lean in heavily. That can also tell you something about your personas. You may have your ideal client, something you might not have ever thought about with them is that they might be very interested in their privacy, and that's something that you can incorporate into your marketing and your business, which sounds weird to say because it seems like an invasion of privacy to use their lack of privacy to sell your product. But that's exactly what DuckDuckGo did. That is really what they have their whole market built upon, is these people who don't want to be tracked everywhere. And they use them not wanting to be tracked to target them with their marketing. So it's all an interesting interplay. And I'm really interested to see where all this goes. I've learned a lot about DuckDuckGo researching for this video, and I hope you did too. If you liked this, you might like the SEO course that we're doing, and I would love to see you there. If you have more questions about DuckDuckGo or think of a topic that you'd like me to delve into, I'm always open to suggestions and questions. Just leave them in the comment below or email me at aj@bitesizedigital.com. And yeah, I guess I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.